How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another preseason FPL video. This is actually quite a surprise. I didn't expect to get some price reveals so soon, and we've gotten a few teams, a few players, and one full team list here for price reveals, so I'm very excited to go through them. We're going to go through them briefly in this video, a bit more free form, and we'll talk a bit more in depth when we do the FPL stream, but it'll be my initial thoughts on what the price reveals that we have so far. If you haven't done so already, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and turn those notification bells on so that you can get the FPL content and any other content as soon as it is readily available. Drop us a follow over on Twitter so you can get all the retweets that I've been doing this morning for FPL price reveals, as well as drop us a follow over on Twitch so that you can be notified when we go live for that first FPL stream of the 2021-2022 season. We'll also be continuing our Manchester United career mode back on Monday over there as well, so make sure to check us out for that. We're also over 100 followers there on Twitch, so thank you all for that as well. Hopefully we can continue that on as well. So without further ado, let's see who's been priced and revealed for the new FPL season. So let's start off with the first team reveal that FPL have done, and it is Arsenal. They've revealed 4 players for each team, and then one squad. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams, and then one of those teams is actually a full list, which is credit to Let's Talk FPL, which is Andy. You might know him in the FPL community. He was kind enough to post a full squad list for Liverpool. But we've got Arsenal here off the start. Aubameyang, you will have noticed, has changed to a forward. 10 million for Aubameyang. I think that might be a little bit expensive just on initial thoughts, because he was a midfielder last season, 11.5. He was really hyped up, saying, oh, he's going to be a midfielder, he's going to get all these goals, and then he ended up kind of falling off. But 10 million might be a bit too much for Aubameyang. It depends on how Arsenal play. He could be in and out of the team, swapping places with Lacazette, but I'm glad to see that he is back as a forward, because he was playing more regularly through the middle. Smith Rowe at a 5.5 million price point. I like that price quite a lot. I think Smith Rowe, assuming he keeps his starting place, that could be like the St. Maximin of last season as that budget midfielder that could be quite promising. I can't remember off the top of my head what Arsenal's fixtures are like to begin with. I know they play Brentford in the opening game, but I can't remember what spell they have to start with. But that could be a very intriguing price for a mid-price midfielder. Pepe at 7.5 million is also intriguing as well. He is now in that kind of mid-price bracket where you have the more budget, which is like 4.5 to 6 million midfielders. You have the mid-price, which is like 6.5 to 8 million, and then you have like the premiums, which is like 9 and up. Pepe now falls in that budget midfielder bracket. If he can go 10 goals, 10 assists this season for Arsenal, that'd be a big year for him, and I think he would be a fantastic FPL asset if he does that as well. Gabriel, not really interested in Arsenal's defense unless they sign another center back or something like that. 5 million. Is it a good price? Probably, but how many clean sheets are Arsenal realistically going to keep? Maybe there's better options there. So that is Arsenal. I think a bit of a mixed bag there, all things considered. I would say Pepe and Smith Rowe definitely the most interesting on this list. Next, we have Burnley. And for Burnley, it's kind of a blanket kind of statement here. Burnley weren't nearly as good as what they were the previous seasons for clean sheets. And the prices still kind of reflect that. Nick Pope, 5.5 million. Tarkowski, 5 million. Ben Mee, 5 million. All probably 0.5 million more than what we would like. I believe Tarkowski started off as 5.5 last season and dropped down. I might be wrong on that. But I think 4.5 definitely be very intriguing. Pope, 5.5. I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense. I think 5 million would have probably been a better price. But as we know in FPL, you get a player that's usually 0.5 more than what you would normally like him. Chris Wood, however, good to see that his price is 7 million. I think that's a very reasonable price for him still. He's one of the 6 players in the last 4 seasons to score 10 plus goals in the Premier League for the 4 seasons running. So I think that's quite a good price for him. He was 6.5, I believe, to start last season. So 7 million, a slight price hike. I think that's quite a fair and reasonable price for Chris Wood. Moving on to Brighton now. This is very interesting. They've posted Sanchez here as a 4.5 million goalkeeper. That is a very, very tasty aspiration for Brighton. 4.5 million goalkeeper Sanchez, who they underperformed significantly last season in terms of defense and attack, as the numbers would have shown, you know, the XG champions and all of that. That could be very, very, very nice going into the new season. If we find another 4.5 million goalkeeper that potentially rotates well, he could be banged straight into our teams alongside one. It could be a perfect rotation that we are looking for, or it could just be a set and forget goalkeeper too. Pascal Gross, 6 million, not really interested. He tends to be in and out of the team and playing in a weird position. Trossard at 6.5 million. I believe he was either around this price or at 6 million last season as well. He might have been 7 million actually. So if he has had a slight price drop, that could be quite good. And Basuma 4.5 million, we kind of expected that. He's a defensive midfielder. Not really an FPL asset, but Sanchez definitely is a very good shout here. Moving on to Crystal Palace, Wilfried Zaha comes in at 7 million. No surprises there. Guaita, another goalkeeper, 4.5 million. Very, very nice indeed. Mitchell obviously getting a price rise because he's been starting, and I think 4.5 million could be quite good, especially if Van Aanholt leaves. I think he's one of the many players at the club that his contract runs out at the end of last season. So he could be on his way to a different club. But I think Guaita, Mitchell, 4.5 million for Palace. If they, get a decent manager in there, very defensively astute, maybe a Nuno Espirito Santo, they could be very, very intriguing options indeed. Benteke, 6.5 million. I think that might be a bit too steep personally. I think 6 million is probably about right, but 6.5, again, the 0.5 million more than what you would expect. But I think Zaha, 7 million, definitely a fair price. Guaita and Mitchell like those prices too. Obviously would have liked to have Mitchell at 4 million, but you can't be always what you want. Now that he's in the team, and they obviously priced him a lot lower last season, Mitchell is still going to be a solid pick, I think, at 4.5 million if Palace can shore up their defense. Moving on to Leeds. Now, these are some very, very interesting prices. So, Meslier comes in at 5 million. We all kind of expected that. That makes the most sense to me. Could potentially be a set and forget goalkeeper had Leeds fixtures been good to start. They're a bit rough to start with, from what I remember. Cooper being 4.5 million, a cheaper way into the Leeds defense. Now, this could also mean that Ayling could be at 4 million. We'll have to wait and see on that. We don't have the full list for them. But the big kicker here is you have Patrick Bamford, who's going to cost 8 million next season. Now, he did very, very well, but 8 million is kind of like the similar realm to what happened when Ings scored a boatload of goals 2 seasons ago and then was priced at like 8 or 8.5 coming into this season. Bamford at 8 million, he might not be the option anymore in that striker bracket. You might want to go for somebody a little bit cheaper. But the one price that really, really, amazes me is I was expecting Rafinha to come in 7 million, 7.5, 6.5 million. I don't care about the fixtures there. Rafinha is a fantastic player. Would have had 50 or more points extra had he played the whole season. Rafinha, I'm definitely interested in that. 6.5 million on a Leeds team that attacks all the time. Rafinha is the guy and hardly ever gets substituted off. So he could be very, very intriguing. I think 6.5 is the, every season there's usually like 1, maybe 2 gifts that FPL give. And I think that is probably it right there. Rafinha and Sanchez so far for me are the gifts that keep on giving. So they could be straight in my team come the start of the season. And then this was the Liverpool price reveal initially. I have the full Liverpool reveal list, which we'll go through in just a second, courtesy of Let's Talk FPL. Andy, as you know, is a very well-known member in the FPL community. So yeah, he posted the full list. I would assume it's true. They probably gave it to him personally. But here are the first 4 names that they initially announced. Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson will talk as a pair. 7.5 million versus 7 million. Makes sense to me. They were both pretty even on points. I think they were only 1 point apart. Same number of assists. I think that's perfectly fine. There is a bit of a decision there to be made, in my opinion. I think Robertson has done, quite well for Scotland. Trent's obviously injured, so again, at the moment, he's still getting back up to fitness. I believe he had a thigh or a hamstring injury. So who knows what he's going to be like come the start of the season. But we know how good Trent is on dead ball plays. Robertson has taken up a lot of the corner matches, so maybe that 0.5 million might be a little bit nicer if you go with the likes of Robertson. If you have the Robertson-Salah pairing, so a lot of examples of it is Robertson cuts the ball back to the top of the penalty spot. Who's going to be running from far post in towards the penalty spot? Probably going to be Mo Salah. You have Trent cutting the ball back or swinging it in from deep. Who's going to be at the far post? Most likely Mane. So that double up Robertson, Salah versus Mane and Trent could be quite interesting. Salah, 12.5 million. No surprises there. I'm happy with that price. He's going to be straight in my team, assuming he doesn't go to the Olympics, which will make him miss out the first couple of weeks. I think he's going to be fantastic. Diego Jota is a bit tempting. I think 7.5 million is probably, I think they got this one correct. I think he could be quite good for a 7.5 million midfielder. I think Klopp will probably initially try to play 4-3-3, depending on what type of midfield structure he wants to do, because he hasn't had Van Dijk in the team since, you know, the likes of Thiago has come in and fully integrated into the team with Jota in there, because they've all been injured or out at various different times. So it could be very interesting to see how Klopp sets up in pre-season, integrating Diego Jota. Maybe because they don't have Gini Wijnaldum anymore, maybe they go a bit more defensive as a base and go a bit more offensive in their front four and kind of mimic what Portugal's doing in the Euros. So they have kind of a set of 4 defenders. They have fullbacks that like to get forward. You know, Guerrero on one side, who tends to go up and down the flanks for Portugal. They have 2 very defensive-minded kind of, holding midfielders in the likes of Jordan Henderson and Fabinho, both who are very good at progressing the ball. Then they'll have Firmino playing the number 10 role, who will put in that work rate. They'll have Jota on the left, Mane on the right, and they'll have Salah through the middle, and all 3 of those guys can interchange. I think that could be Klopp's recipe for success, because you don't need much more cover. Firmino can kind of have the license to roam. He's that good of a player intelligence-wise. With you, if you have Van Dijk and Konate, who could be the starting center backs, we'll get to that in a second, could be quite good. So here is the full price list, so I'm going to zoom in on it a little bit. So if we kind of run it down here, no surprises for the goalkeepers. Alisson, 6 million. Adrian and Kelleher at 4.5 million. So pretty decent drop off, but 6 million I think is obviously right for the premium goalkeepers. It always has been, and I always think it will be. Coming into the defenders here, now this is where it gets a bit interesting. So we'll just skip through the backup. So Davies, Williams, Tsimikas, they're all 4 million. That's Nico Williams. So if there's any point where Trent Alexander-Arnold gets injured, you have a very, very, very nice price Nico Williams at 4 million potentially. The 4.5 million defenders, Phillips and Reece Williams, it makes sense to me. This is where it gets interesting. So the 4 center backs that Liverpool have: Van Dijk, Konate, Matip, and Gomez. We would assume that Konate and Van Dijk are going to be the pairing, which would make a reason as to why they are 7 million and 6.5 million. That just makes the most sense to me. I think Konate being 5.5 million is a bit interesting, because if Van Dijk doesn't necessarily have the aerial threat that he did a couple of seasons ago, then it might just make more sense to just go Konate, just go safer. You're getting the Liverpool clean sheets. I think a lot of players will be attracted to Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, makes sense. And Van Dijk being 0.5 cheaper than Robertson, there's some decisions to be made there. But if Konate ever becomes ever present, he might be an easy way into the Liverpool clean sheet, back line, as it were. So that is a bit interesting there. I like Konate being at 5.5. Still unproven. Does have a history of injuries potentially. So you might be dipping into the Matip, Gomez 5 million range there if he were to get injured. Then if we move on down here, so we look at the midfielders. So this is where I think, FPL have got it wrong here. I think this is me personally. Salah 12.5 million, Mane 12 million. Last season, they were both 12 million. Now it's only 0.5 difference. If Mane would have came in 11.5 million, you would at least have a decision to make. Now, I mean, this 0.5 million, you're still going to pick Salah over Mane. He's on penalties. He's closer to the goal most times, gets more shots off in the box. I think it just makes the most sense to have just Salah in your team. Is there a possibility for a double up in first couple of weeks? Yeah, possible. And then you can shift on Mane to, somebody else after the first couple of weeks if Liverpool aren't scoring as much. That is definitely an option. For the cheaper midfielders, so we talked about Jota, Shaqiri, Chamberlain, Thiago, Fabinho, Minamino, Milner, Henderson, Keita, and Jones, all, about the prices you would expect for them to be. If Thiago ends up becoming a number 10, so they end up playing like, Henderson, Fabinho, Thiago in the number 10 role, and then, the front three of Mane, Salah, Firmino, that could be interesting there as well. And for 5.5, that could be a very intriguing price. Will that happen? Not too sure. And then for the forwards, Firmino at 9 million, I think is still, in my opinion, a bit too high. I think 8.5 million, 8 million would probably have been around the right price. Probably 8.5 is probably a bit fair. And then Origi at 5 million, again, not a non-FPL option there. But yeah, the Mane Salah one, I'm a little bit disappointed in. I think 11.5 million, you have to make at least a choice. Yes, Mane's numbers did, make him seem like a better FPL asset than what he actually was when you look at the grand scheme of things. He wasn't hitting the heights that he was 2 seasons ago, but he still did okay. So just quick run back. I think the Salah Mane thing, would have liked to see Mane 11.5. Robertson versus Alexander-Arnold versus Trent versus Konate could be a very interesting dynamic. Jota's price, I think, could be intriguing. Leeds price, I think Meslier is expected. Maybe not going to go there with their fixtures. Cooper at 4.5 could make it so that all the Leeds defenders could be at 4.5, which makes Ayling potentially a good prospect. Rafinha at 6.5 is a yes. Bamford is 8 million, probably not. Palace, Mitchell, and Guaita are on as a watch, and Zaha maybe at 7 million. Sanchez is a fantastic price at 4.5 million. And then Burnley, probably a bit too expensive on all categories. The Chris Wood price increase is definitely justified. And Smith Rowe at 5.5 million and Pepe at 7.5 million could also be intriguing as well. So yeah, that's the price reveals. So while we were actually recording the video, we actually had just one more. I just wanted to check it out. And we got the Norwich price reveals as well. Obviously, they've, not got the greatest fixtures from what I remember to start. I think Brentford and Watford's fixtures are not bad. And Norwich's aren't great at all, but could be interesting later on. So we've got Tim Krul at 4.5 million, Pookie at 6 million, Hanley at 4.5 million, and McLean at 5 million. All make the most sense. I mean, Krul at 4.5 may come into a factor later on. Pookie at 6 million, maybe. But apart from that, not really going to be interested in Norwich. Their fixtures off the start aren't all that great. So yeah, that's going to do it for all the price reveals. Let me know what you think and which teams you're most excited about and which players you're most excited about to be revealed. It seems like FPL is doing like an hourly type of reveal, so I'll maybe do a batch later on when more have come out. So make sure you turn your notification bells on so that you can see when that video comes out. But yeah, that's it for the price reveals for part 1. And that's going to do it for part 1 of the price reveals. Like I said, if there's going to be more that come out throughout the day, I'll do a video in the evening and we'll collaborate those and look at those as well. Especially any full lists of ones that we already have, we'll take a look at those as well. And if you haven't done so already and you are excited for the price reveals, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new. It greatly helps out the channel, and turn the notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available and get notified for price changes in bulk from the channel as soon as they come out. Also, make sure to give us a follow over on Twitter. I'm retweeting basically all of these as well, so you can see all of that as I see them as well. And give us a follow over on Twitch so that you can be ready and raring to go when we go live for our first FPL stream of the 2021-2022 season, when we have a nice blank clean slate and we can see all the prices, where we'll go into much more depth for these various different prices and how we're going to structure our team. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, take care.